Hey, everybody. On today's Locked on Bama, we're going to talk a lot about recruiting. We're going to talk about quarterback recruiting, and we're going to talk about recruiting offensive linemen from Finland. That's not something we're going to do every day, but we're going to do that today on Locked on Bama, so stick with us.
Locked on Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey again, everybody. Welcome back into Locked on Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. Jimmy, how are you today?
Awesome. It's the start of a new week, and it's a full week of football spring practice. So fired up.
And a lot to be fired up about. It's getting warmer. I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee right at this moment. I went to Lexington, Kentucky to get my churins, and then I'm going to Atlanta. Then I'm going to Las Vegas. I feel like I'm playing an entire SEC schedule in about 24 hours.
Boy, where is Carmen Sandiego?
That is kind of my thing. Anywho, Jimmy, I think we start today because the quarterback recruiting. Look, we talked about Arch Manning on a podcast a few days ago even, and Arch Manning's the thing, right? I mean, he's the Cool Ranch Doritos of this year's quarterback class. I mean, everybody loves him. Everybody thinks it's the best, and it's all about which is second best. But I've begun hearing, I think that's right. I've begun hearing that Eli Holstein out of Louisiana is way up on Alabama's board, and Alabama could view him in the same light as Arch Manning, which is weird. First of all, they're both from Louisiana. They're both playing football in Louisiana. And I doubt either one of them ends up at LSU at this point. Holstein, of course, just decommitted from Texas A&M not too long ago. And so I need you to explain all this to me.
Well, at On 3, Joseph Hastings, who covers recruiting for Alabama in the On 3 site, he believes that's what will happen in terms of, like, if from reading his comments on the board, it just, I think the right word to use is trending, which doesn't mean anything is certain. But think about this, guys. Holstein is making his second visit in 3 weeks to Alabama. Okay, his second visit in 3 weeks, and he's not local. It's not easy for him to get there. So if he's coming to Tuscaloosa 2 times in 3 weeks, he's clearly very serious about Alabama. Now, how serious is Alabama about him? Very. I mean, because these visit weekends, it's not like it's hundreds of kids. I mean, it's unofficial visits, but it's also invite. Alabama wants to spend time with this kid. Holstein is also, I mean, just watch the tape. He's outstanding. I mean, this is a big time kid. To be completely honest, this is literally what happened. He committed to A&M really early, and Jimbo Fisher is an outstanding evaluator of quarterbacks. He's been known for that for years. So myself, as somebody, a fan of recruiting, when I heard that a quarterback from Louisiana committed to Jimbo Fisher that early, I mean, I ran to the tape because I, of course, had never heard of the kid. He's from out of state. He was really young. He was in the 10th grade. And I ran to the tape first chance I got. And when I watched Eli Holstein's tape, my first thought was like, Alabama better sign Arch. I mean, they better sign Arch because this kid is really good. And I personally think, even though I'm a bigger fan of Arch, and if it was up to me and I have my choice between the two, I'd take Arch. I'd take Arch 100 out of 100 times. But that's me. I think any coach that watches the tape between those two, if 10 coaches watch Arch's tape and Holstein's tape, it's going to be a 5-5 split as to which one's the better prospect. I mean, that's how good Holstein is. And it might even be more than 5-5. It might be 6-4 in favor of Holstein. He's a bigger, stronger kid. He's also even more athletic. He checks every single box, and he's a winner. So it could be that Holstein is rated just as high or higher by the Alabama staff. That shouldn't shock anyone. Mute. Hey, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Yep. I was muted.
Okay.
I'm not editing that. It's part of it. I have to be quiet in the background so that I don't interrupt Jimmy. Sorry about that. Thank you for announcing it to the world that I had screwed that up.
Well, it was sort of the only way to do it.
There was nothing else you could do. You had done everything you could do. You did. I appreciate that. All right. So they're both in Louisiana. Do they happen to play each other?
No, I think Holstein is in a larger classification. Holstein is also north of Baton Rouge. He's in a town called Zachary, and I guess Zachary is a suburb of Baton Rouge, but it's about 30 miles away, and it's north. So like between Baton Rouge and Monroe, Louisiana, I guess you'd say, or heading towards Monroe from Baton Rouge. Whereas Arch is not only in New Orleans, he's in the heart of New Orleans. I'm sure most of our listeners have been to New Orleans. Arch lives in the Garden District in New Orleans, and his high school is right there. So it's very close to Tulane, both the high school and where Arch lives. So that's so that's a pretty good haul up to get north of Baton Rouge from there.
Jimmy, when it comes to Eli Holstein's hometown, I know Zachary where that is.
Nice.
That's an old doctor joke about a guy looking at it at this woman was like, "Doctor, I can't ever get a date." You know what it could be the problem is? He kept looking at her face and her backside, And he said, Zachary, Zachary, Zachary. And she said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Your face looks Zachary like your butt." Ever heard that joke?
No, but I'm sure the kids loved it.
Yeah, the kids probably loved it. They've heard a lot worse than Look, I'm going for podcast awards, not Father of the Year, okay? Look, all right, Jimmy, this episode is brought to you by Stat Hero. Love me some Stat Hero. It's a lot of fun. If your bracket is shot all to hell like mine is, and you still want to have fun with NCAA tournament, you can go to Stat Hero. They've got NCAA single game pick'ems that pit the star players against each other in an amazing hybrid between fantasy and sports gambling. Take control back from those handicappers that always seem to have the advantage. Start focusing on the players you know best with a gameplay that doesn't rely on big spreads, long odds, or funky props. Stat Hero gives you the advantage, resulting in their gamers winning 4 times more often. Why is that? Because Stat Hero eliminates the mystery about who or what you're going up against. This is what daily fantasy was meant to be. Sign up for free right now at stathero.com/lockedon. Use promo code LOCKEDON for a 100% deposit match. That's stathero.com/lockedon. Use promo code LOCKEDON. 100% deposit match. You put in $100, you get to play with 200. It's that simple. stathero.com/lockedon. Promo code Locked On, as I've said now multiple times. You should know what I'm saying at this point. Jimmy, I also want to thank all you guys for making us your first listen when it comes to Alabama Podcast. We have now gone over, I think it's 506 subscribers on YouTube.
Excellent.
And look, when it comes to, dudes who, talk about fashion or Oscars and stuff, they got millions of subscribers. We're not even going for that. We want a modest 27,500 subscriber base. That's what we want. That's modest. And I think we can get there with your help. I feel like I'm being a little Sally Struthers here. 506 is a lot, but we need more, and we need you to help. So, yeah, if y'all could hit that subscribe button, we would certainly appreciate it. Jimmy, okay, so that's quarterback recruiting, which is very cool. By the way, I'll throw out a bone to On3. You just put up a list of the top. You're going to rank the top running backs of the Saban era, and I might do that in the last segment. I want you to talk about, and boy, correct me if I'm wrong here. I have come across some names that I have trouble pronouncing from time to time. I work for the HSA Radio Network. I have to call state championship games, and I've seen some very interesting ones in my time. But this is an offensive lineman from Finland, and his name is spelled Olaus. I would assume that's Olaus?
Olaus.
Olaus.
And yeah, I think.
Hold it. I want to get the last name. I want to see if I get the last name. Alinen. Alinen. Alinen.
Allen. I've been saying Alinen.
Okay,
Alinen. But I don't talk. I'll have to ask Joseph, who's interviewed the kid a couple times, and I'm sure Joseph asked, hey, I'm pronouncing your name right. I guess so. I'll ask Joseph. That's a great question, but I think it's Olaus Alinen is what I've been saying, and it's very. I don't want to use the word likely yet, but I would say Alabama's the favorite at this point, even though a lot of schools are recruiting him based on where he's ranked. A lot of schools recruit that guy. I would think his ranking is very likely to go up because his offer list and schools interested in him is outstanding. I mean, he's a really interesting, good prospect. I understand on the hoof, he doesn't look like a kid that's going to be really athletic, but we don't recruit Eastern Europe a lot, so
it's tough to get there right now. I mean, it's a tough visit right now. I mean, not to make it a light of it, but I mean, it's not like you're, hey, we got a prospect. He better be a 5-star if you're going over there right this minute. And my Finnish is a little rusty, so I wasn't sure exactly how to pronounce that last name, but yeah, the picture of with him and Saban. Okay, if you want to pick nits here, you look at that picture and go, I see a lot to work with. I mean, you know what? I may use that picture for the beginning of this podcast or whatever. I always have to come up with a picture because you don't help at all in that aspect.
No, I do not.
No, but the picture, it makes it look like he has a lot of room to grow. I mean, frankly, and I think this is more of a Dutch thing. Like, he looks so young. I mean, he's huge. Yeah. He's monstrous, but he looks really, really young. And so I guess and his shoulders don't look incredibly broad. What I'm saying is, when I saw Evan Neal's picture, I was like, or Tyler Booker, or Ashawn Robinson, I thought, boy, I hope that man has a grandson that we can recruit. Oh, wait a minute. He's only 17. This kid looks like he's 13 and a half, but just in a giant man's body.
Right.
But so I guess in a way that's positive because there's a lot of room for improvement here, and Saban already loves him. So I think there's a couple of positives.
Yeah, we've recruited him from the very start. He's been playing high school football in America, and he goes to high school in America, one of the elite private schools in Connecticut. But here's where I started turning on him in terms of being excited about Olaus is, you think here's a kid that grew up in Finland, and your assumption is, okay, he comes to America as an exchange student, or his family has a lot of money, so they send him to America to get his education. And once he gets here, he sees American football for the first time, and the coaches want him to play because he's so big. And you make that assumption. Well, that's not even close to true with him. In fact, he grew up obsessed with American football in Europe and watching it, and was immersed in it because his dad played in NFL Europe. The old when the NFL tried European football for a while, and it was somewhat interesting. A lot of former and future actual NFL players played in NFL Europe, including Saran Stacy, who's still in the record books in NFL Europe for the yards rushing he had playing for the Scotland team. But Olaus's dad was a lineman for one of the teams in NFL Europe, so he sort of has a football background, unlike what most would assume. So that made him real interesting to me. And then you look at his offer list and you're like, hey, Alabama's not really going out on a limb here. Basically, all the power programs in the country are recruiting this kid.
Do you think that Joseph Hastings, that's his name, the new guy with On 3, right? Joseph Hastings, right?
That's right. Yeah, Joseph Hastings, yeah.
A great question would have been, Olaus, how weird was it to put on a helmet without 2 horns sticking out the sides?
That's
good. That would have been awesome.
I'll mention that to Joseph. I'll steal that.
Okay. Let's talk about Built Bar really quickly, Jimmy. Love me some Built Bar. These things are delicious. I got my oldest son in here too, and he's had Built Bars. He loves them. He's gotten them from Lifetime Fitness. They've hit the big time. We want to think, at least partially, due to the fact that they advertise with us. These things are fantastic. They taste awesome. They're always covered in chocolate. The puffs are really, really good. It's protein-infused marshmallow that are also covered in chocolate. They've got an incredible lineup of flavors like cinnamon churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie, all this stuff. They're also good. You can go to built.com and check out their chart, their health chart. You'll be blown away. High protein, low cal, high fiber, low carb, all the good stuff there at built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off that order. Built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off that order at built.com. You'll love these things. Go check them out. Okay, Jimmy, for this last segment, and because I'm running a little short on time, we're gonna talk about your list of top running backs of the Saban era. And this is a very interesting list. And thank God Nick Saban has hung around now long enough for us to have a true list of things like this, like best quarterback, you can't just be there for 5 or 6 years, which is what everybody thought was going to happen when Saban first came to Alabama, and have a real list. You need to be there like 10 to 15, 20 years, and Saban's creeping up on 20, and that's wonderful news. But these are your top 12, and here's what I want you to do. Don't explain your reasoning. I'm going to give you the number that you have them listed, and then you tell me the favorite memory from that running back. And if mine differs from you, I'll give you mine. But number 12, you have Beau Scarborough.
Well, what immediately comes to mind really is a play he didn't make, and that's just simply because I think people forget it. It was a brief part of his career, but at the end of his junior season, his last 5 or 6 games, he was fantastic. I mean, he was really good. He was developing into one of the best running backs in America. And we go into the Clemson game in 2016, and he's got a pretty good first half going, and Alabama's got a lead, and he breaks his leg. And I know I sound like those Texas fans when I say this, but it's just my honest football opinion. Had Beau not been hurt in that 2016 Clemson game, Alabama wins the national championship, in part because Beau is so good. When he came back the following year off the broken leg, he was okay, but we never again saw the Beau Scarborough that we saw up to the broken leg. So really, to me, my memory is, him breaking his leg at the absolute worst time for himself and for the team.
I think that's the easy answer. And it is a very, if Colt hadn't gotten hurt moment, except for the fact, if memory serves, when he scored he scored 2 touchdowns in that game, if I remember right, and they were very early, and we were up 14-0, right? And so it's not, but Texas didn't have a 14-0 lead on us. They had a 3-0 lead when Colt went out. So yeah, it's a lot different. And I think a 14-0 lead with a badass running back certainly would have made things a little bit different. If he'd been able to stay in the game. Then you have number 11. I think some people might take exception to this, but I think to me it speaks to how many quality running backs we have. You have Kenyon Drake.
Right.
And by the way, my memory on Scarborough is that run against Washington, which is one of the best runs you'll ever see. It just won't get the pub because Alabama sort of toyed around with Washington, and we just beat the hell out of them in a sense. It was 24-6, and it was a fantastic old school SEC run by a big dude. I mean, it was Bo Jackson-esque. That's the kind of highlight Bo Jackson has. Beau Scarborough's not as good as Bo Jackson. I'm not saying that, Auburn people. I'm saying that run was the kind of run Bo Jackson used to have. So Kenyon Drake, you have at number 11, Jimmy. Best memory.
Yeah, some people are going to have him higher because of what he's done in the NFL. Yeah. But I specifically state as part of the, what I use to determine the list is what you do in the NFL is irrelevant. It does not count. This is what they did at Alabama. And I'm really big on the production, on the numbers, because anyone can have an opinion that they like Roydell Williams as a running back more than they like Mark Ingram. I mean, someone can have that opinion. It would be dumb, but someone could have that opinion. I really looked at the number, rushing yards, yards per carry, receiving yards, total yards from scrimmage. And I wouldn't say I ranked it exactly like it, but I used it as a big factor. And that's why Kenyon is back at 11. Amazingly, he did have very good production at Alabama, receiving and receiving especially, but he never was the guy. Kenyon Drake was never running back 1 at Alabama. He was always part of a committee or the backup. He was just really good in those roles, was a good player at Alabama and a big part of the 2015 national championship team. And I'm always going to remember, of course, the kick return for the touchdown against Clemson in 2015. Without it, very likely Alabama doesn't win the national championship.
Yeah, there's no doubt. That's the Kenyon Drake play. There was another play in there, and I want to say the reason this one can't win is because I'm not 100% sure it was against Arkansas. I think it was, where he broke free sort of late in the game. We had him beat, and he makes one cut to the right, and then he just takes off like a rocket. I mean, when Drake got his speed going, it was over. I mean, and it was so much fun to watch him, and you hate thinking about he got hurt against Ole Miss, and I guess that was 14, and then in 15, I think he fumbled the opening kickoff, which, Ole Miss, we had 5 turnovers, they had none. They beat us that particular game. But yeah, I think the only answer is the kickoff return against Clemson. I mean, there's no other way you can go with that. Number 10, you have Glenn Coffey. What's your memory there?
Just the fact that the 08 season is one of our most, we've had such a slew of great backs since Glenn Coffey. He's the oldest running back on this list, and it's easy to forget, but he had a spectacular season in 08, which was the birth of the Saban era. He rushed for 1,300 yards that year. He was first team All-SEC. He was an early entry NFL guy. He could have come back and played another year. He's an early entry guy and was a 3rd round pick, which means top 100 player in the NFL draft, and played his rookie season before making the strange decision, frankly, to leave the NFL and enlist in the Army. But Coffey, a great player that Saban didn't recruit, only guy on the list Saban didn't recruit. He was a Mike Chulassani, and really in his junior year developed into an elite college back.
Yeah, I'm going to say the run against Auburn in the slop in 2008 was pretty awesome. But he also had an 80-yarder at Arkansas, which was really nice in 2008 too. So really like some Glenn Coffey, and he did go on to serve the country. I mean, you can't say anything bad about that. Then at number 9, you got Brian Robinson. And here's the thing. I think if we were all like, okay, you can pick one back for a game, we would pick Scarborough, Drake, or Glenn Coffey over Brian Robinson, but you're giving him some longevity points, I feel like.
Well, I mean, it's the production, right? I mean, I said I'm going to give a lot of credit to and Brian Robinson's production after his career, and you add it all up, is way up there. As a matter of fact, it's higher than where he is on the list. So I did dock him a couple of spots on the list. If it was just based on nothing but yards rushing, Brian would be higher. But I do think some of the other guys are more gifted players, and that's why I have Brian where he is. Others would have him even lower. But look, hey, when he was good, he was good. I don't know that Alabama makes it to the national championship game without Brian Robinson, who sort of not only had to carry the mantle alone when we thought it would be running back by committee this season. He not only had to do it, he earned it. He sort of became the running attack, leading Alabama to an SEC championship and a berth in the national championship game. So Brian Robinson was a very accomplished running back at Alabama.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode, Jimmy. We will be back tomorrow, I hope. I'm going to be in Vegas sort of gallivanting around, but hopefully we can hook up together and keep this thing going for the rest of the week. I don't think it'll be a problem. We'll find a way, even though I'm a couple hours difference from you starting this afternoon. But Jimmy, we'll talk to you soon, buddy, and roll tide.
Roll tide and safe travels to the Robinson clan.
Thank you, sir.